this up on the big screen. Let me go over here.
Is it brighter in here today?
It kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
It's brighter in here.
Is it brighter?
I'm lit up like a Christmas tree, fellas.
It's
That's what
probably
it usually
it's
looks
probably
like
the
in my
different
house.
the angle on the TV. So we are. Well, it's you guys. Why not pulling a USA Carp Guide? What the heck?
I think you're right. I don't think it's the angle of the TV. I think it's the camera. And it was directly behind it. Now it's catching some of it, I think. A little late now.
Yeah.
We had a producer, he'd fix that for us.
Yeah.
It's above my pay grade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it again. Hit me back.
You went to USA Carp Guide again?
Yeah. It's like,
That's where you went?
that's where I went. Okay.
Knock it off, James. Someone like you.
Hello, hello. We
We're there.
got Brian Rand in here as always.
What's up, Brian? Are we live yet?
We have
Yes,
Daniel
we are
Duke in
live.
here.
Oh, I didn't hear the hello, company.
Well,
Well, we haven't, we haven't.
I'm trying to get
started
you
the
other
show, technically.
pages real quick too.
All right, no worries, no
Yeah.
worries.
But yeah, thanks for being on top of the game.
So are we at 103 or 104?
We are 104.
104.
Yeah, so where's that at? Right here? I don't see 104, fellas.
It should be under our live.
Oh, dang it.
What? Yeah, go up.
Let me do this.
Just hit the logo.
My bad. Somewhat
That's right. Yeah, that's
Carp in New England. Hello, hello.
perfect. The Royal Angler, Brian Rand. What's up, Dave? My brother.
That's it. I can't.
I love you
I can't
all.
find share, but that's fine.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Everybody
Great.
good? Ready to start?
That's it. All right.
All right.
3, 2, 1. Hey, Carp Anglers! James Sanders here from Team Fish Fighters and Bottom Feeder Baits.
I'm Kenny Mack, and I'm with USA Carp Guide and Bottom Feeder Baits.
And I'm Daniel Irish, and I am also with USA Carp Guide and Bottom Feeder Baits. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great, great.
I'm blessed by the best. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. How are you, sir?
I'm good, I'm good. Doing well. I've been putting together a list of all the tournaments so that I can bring them to you guys very easily. So let me run through this very quickly. April 21st through the 25th, we have the New River Carp Open. And then May 18th through the 22nd, we have the New York Wild Carp Classic. May 22nd through the 25th, we have the Lady Ginger Invitational. July 12th through the 17th, we have the St. Lawrence Carp Marathon. July 13th, here in Indianapolis, we have the White River Invitational. That should be a lot of fun. See you guys there. July 30th through August 1st, we have the Junior St. Lawrence Marathon. September 24th through the 27th, Seaway 6-Pack. And then October 14th through the 18th, we have the Harvest Moon 5.0.
Oh, nice.
Isn't he good at this stuff?
Wow.
Isn't he just
Wow.
like the best? I love me some Daniel Irish now.
Thank you very much.
You know, I'm a little offended right now because, you know, you said, you know, you told him, how you doing, Daniel? But you never said anything of how I was doing.
James Sanders, how you doing,
I'm doing
brother?
great. Thank you very much, Kenny Mack.
You know, it's the reason was because he asked us how we were doing.
You,
so,
yeah, so I'm fine, Daniel Irish, you know. It's fine.
my bad.
No, no, good.
I do love you,
I
Dan.
love you too, man.
So I apologize for our little spat. Yeah, no. The Royal Angler says, see you and Kitty in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir.
I have bad news, Mr. Angler, you are blocked. Blocked. So forget that stuff.
That's harsh.
It's tough around here, man.
It's harsh.
Yeah, I'll be bringing my bivvy, and I'll be bivvying up with you guys for a
Yeah.
couple days or whatever. So we'll get some time to hang out.
And you guys should thank me, because Daniel wasn't gonna bring nothing, and I said, dude, like, you're gonna be in the bush this year, man, we're done. Get your butt out there and catch some daggone fish, and so I'm looking forward to,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it, I'm gonna put Daniel Irish on display.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
We're gonna catch some fish, man.
You guys had a a great podcast yesterday. He was talking about.
Oh, thank you, brother.
White River, not White River.
New River.
Thank you. And I love the whole talks behind the scenes, how it all got started, and then the governor or the mayor was actually involved in that whole situation.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat story.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat story.
And it came from one passion,
Yeah.
you know. Derek had the passion.
Derek Williams.
He seen an opportunity and he ran into the right people. He is just a peach.
Oh my gosh.
Bundle of energy and very intelligent.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they got the right mix of people together and it's gonna work. They've been running 4 years, you know, and I think they're gonna end up running 40, you know?
Yeah.
You guys also just went to Dale Hollow over the weekend too. Then you guys just came back.
We did. It was probably one of the worst Del Hollow trips in history.
We tried.
We tried.
I think you guys just went down there just to look at the lake and just
That's
drove
what
back.
we did. That is what we daggone did. I mean, nothing went right. The boats were down. Couldn't wake Daniel up.
Couldn't get alarms paired to receivers.
Yeah, Kenny Mac leaves every essential tool that we need back home in Indy. Good job, Kenny Mac. You jackers. No alarms, yeah.
Batteries would die even after you checked them.
Ooh, yeah, so we rented out some, we did have a couple clients, you know, they stayed 2 days and they wanted to rent a pod and some alarms and, you know, Daniel's really good about going through the equipment and checking to make sure it's working. And I heard him in there messing around and he got every one of them to work. Well, when they get out into the bush, one of them went down and sure enough, we get a phone call. So we got to go all the way back out just to give a daggone battery. We fished one night, 2 poles each. The Google says the water was 62.
Yeah.
Don't even try. That's a lie.
Liger.
It might be 62 in that water puddle up on the bank, maybe.
Right.
But
Right there in the
you
sun.
know, so the lake didn't tell us anything. There was no movement, no shows or anything. I will say this. I still had a lovely time. Daniel Irish is always a great company. We had some really good heart-to-heart talks. And they're invaluable to me, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be around forever, especially if I keep on eating. And I have a legacy to pass, yeah. You know, I got some knowledge to pass, and Daniel's an absolute sponge, so we just kind of went at it and did a lot of talking. Well, I did a lot of talking, he did a lot of listening.
He just listens. Yeah.
I'm starting to talk.
Yeah, he is starting to, you know, he is starting to express himself, so.
Well.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Well, we have a guest from Canada.
Yeah.
Carp angler, Canadian carp angler. His name's, you know, I want to welcome John. John, please forgive me. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. How would you say your last name?
It's all good. Yeah, I say it Pundyk, but honestly, everybody just knows me as John Boy.
John Boy.
John Boy,
You got it.
Oh, John, I tell you, you have been carp angling, and the photo, I'm going to tell you the truth. I haven't, Kenny Mac, he talked to you for time to time. We just became friends on Facebook here just recently. You just showed me a couple of photos of 3 carp, and I'm like, wow, beautiful, beautiful carp. At least all in the 30s. You said you definitely have a honey hope, and you know, you're definitely telling the truth. Why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, or anglers that don't know you, and tell them about how long you've been carp fishing, and just tell us just a little bit about your story.
Sure, yeah. I became involved and interested in carp angling in Canada decades before anyone thought that they were worth targeting or even trying to fish for. You know, it was a garbage invasive species, and everyone had, you know, a hard on about get rid of these fish and this, that, and the other thing. And you know, the honest to God truth about how I got started with carp fishing is boys will be boys.
Mm-hmm.
And if you send 2 boys down to the edge of Lake Ontario and they have, you know, spinning gear and they're just trying to pick up perch and bass and whatnot, and you start getting these schools of 55, 65,
Nice.
75
Wow.
fish that all look like they're 20 to 40 pounds.
Nice.
I don't care who you are, boys will be boys. I want to catch one of
That's
those.
right,
Yeah.
brother.
Wow.
So we had a friend, another mutual friend, whose father was an avid float fisherman. Fished all the rivers, custom built his own float rods. I mean, he was a professional at float fishing, which I have no interest in.
Right.
But I badgered this gentleman relentlessly about how do I catch these fish. And finally, one day, he said, I can't take it anymore. He said, I'm going to introduce you to a really old friend of mine, and he's going to tell you. And he told us, how to use dough and how he was doing it. And we went out and we started figuring it out on our own. And it just progressed from there. And then my career, it took off for a while, and I was all over the world, so I couldn't fish, and I came back home, and I just, kept on carp fishing and realized, okay, now there's stores where I can buy high-end equipment. This is crazy, figuring out what all these pop-ups and whatnot are, blah, blah, blah. Joined the Canadian Carp Society,
Okay.
which, if you're a carp fisherman in Canada and you're serious about it and you're not part of the society, you're limiting yourself so much. The knowledge base, the camaraderie, we're Canadians. Come on, the friendship. You can ask anybody anything, and basically they'll tell you the truth. What'd you catch that on? Where were you fishing? Here you go. Here's the information. Please put it to use. Get yourself some big fish.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because since I joined the Canadian Carp Society, you've seen people step up crazy and put up, some real monster fish up here. And so, yeah, that's my story of how I got into it and why I'm still doing it.
Oh, wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, I love it. There's there's a lot of anglers from, I like to think of them in like, different generations. And we have a lot of anglers around here that are in the, the generation where they got into it with the dough balls, and things like that. And I always love to hear about that. What is it now, that you love, that gets you out there today, that, is it the search of the big fish? Is it the love of the nature? What gets you continuing to carp fish today?
All of it. All of what you said,
Amen.
plus more.
Amen, brother.
So, for what I do for a living, I put up with a lot of nonsense.
Right.
And I also, work with animals that can't speak. So you have to figure a lot of stuff out, and it's very intense sometimes. And competition is cutthroat in the industry I work in.
Yeah.
Going fishing, specifically going carp fishing, is a full-fledged decompression
Amen.
event for me.
Right.
So much to the point that sometimes when I get home, or vice versa, when I get there, I can't calm down for a day when I get there, and I can't get as dementedly motivated for one day when I get home from carp fishing. It's just the amount you need to put in if you want to constantly, and I've seen Kenny Mac's videos. He can attest to this as well. So can Daniel. And sir, if you fish as well, I'm sure you can too. The amount of work alone that goes into carp fishing is such a natural distraction for the mind
Amen.
that it takes away from all of this nattering
Yes, sir.
and constant million miles an hour. And what's cool about it is once you finally start to decompress when you're carp fishing, you hook one or you have a screaming, blistering run, and it amps you up, but not in an anxiety type of way.
Yeah.
And believe me, when I tell you I'm not an anxious person, I don't suffer from any of those maladies. I kind of just try to keep my brain screwed on right and realize what the world is for what it is.
Right.
But the carp fishing, it's like it's an honor to be able to go and do it and experience the nature and experience the thrill of a different type of adventure almost every single time.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like that old saying is, that a man will never fish the same river twice because he's not the same man and it's not the same river.
Amen.
It's always a new experience. I think that is part of the thing, that has some of us hooked. That it is our chase of new experiences, trying to find out what lurks under the water that we can't see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had a carp angler on our show one time from a Canadian.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Anthony Russell. Yeah, and you got like Kenny just says, you guys fish a lot together.
No, I have never met the gentleman. I have never fished with him, but I have conversed with him, online. I really want to go out to the lake where he, as part of that marina and his own carp fishing business out there. And I really do want to go out there one of these times and, have a week and throw everything at it and see what comes of it. But he's that man possesses more knowledge, in my opinion, than I do. I mean,
he was on the point
he
of
comes
everything he's saying.
he comes from a land where, and I know that some of the guys don't like that I say this and whatever, but it's my belief and it's my way of using this verbiage. But in Europe, the competition is catching a fish is so competitive and so difficult that I think carp fishing over there has actually turned into tricking fish to bite your rig. When it gets that hard to do, my God, the skill set you must possess. It's well above, honestly, I think what I'd even really want to achieve, because I have Canada, you guys have the United States, we have millions of wild carp.
You do.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned with having to trick them to eat, and I think that's why we are as successful as we are over here, just due to the sheer astronomical volume of fish.
Well,
Yeah, and that's one thing. The other thing is they just flat haven't been caught yet, John.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not afraid. They're not weary. A lot of those guys come over there, the British and the people from across the pond, and I know a heck of a lot of them. I got a heck of a lot of friends from over there, and they come over talking about how smart their carp is, and I'm telling them, no, it's not. No, your carp are smart. Our carp are not. They just haven't been caught enough. They can get there. I know they can get there, but right now, they're unsuspecting. So,
Correct, and they're just hungry, and once you get them on the feed, they will eventually eat your offering without even thinking about it twice. Like you said, it's amazing to watch those underwater videos from Europe with those fish that are so smart. They come in and disturb the area just to see what moves and doesn't move. I mean, you can train a fish to figure this out. That's scary, but that's the reality of it.
You was also, before the show started, you was talking about how you're a horse trainer and all that stuff, and you actually been all over the world a lot. Have you ever decided to take your carp gear and just fish in other places around, when you do your horse training too?
No, the fact of the matter is, because I'm in charge of what I do for a living and it's mine, there's not really, I don't have an ability to just take a day off or take an afternoon off. The fact of the matter is I was trained by a German man, and he taught me, we are slaves of the horses, not the horses of us. They didn't ask to be locked in their stalls, and we do what we want with them, so we have to be their slaves. Well, I took that seriously. And so when I go on the road with them, my mind is 1,000,000% focused on them and them alone. Correct.
That's awesome.
Good on you, man.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Good on me. Good on me. There is literally a lake right in front of the. No, please hear me out. Right in front of the biggest horse show that I go to down in Florida. and there is a 90-pound grass carp
Oh, no
in
kidding.
that.
Wow.
So was you like,
I,
was you like just
I've
staring
seen
at the
it.
lake and we just get like withdrawals and itching your neck a lot and just staring
Oh
and
yeah.
getting the shakes?
Oh
Okay,
yes.
I got you.
Yes.
Got you.
It's very. But I kind of get to take care of that just a little bit because my friend and I own a boat in Florida, and we do deep sea fishing. So
Nice.
whenever we get that crazed, we just go and if you're screaming reels, you're good for a minute.
No, that's right.
Yeah. Earlier in the show, we did our tournament segment where, we're updating anglers about all the tournaments that we got going on in America and things like that. I'm kind of curious as to what the Canadian tournament scene looks like. Do you guys have many wild water tournaments, if any?
I mean, to my knowledge, it's okay. Short of what the CCS does, their friendly tournaments this spring, the summer deal, which I can't take part in because the horses take over way too much in the summer.
Right.
And then they do another fall friendly tournament with rules and verified catches and the whole 9 yards. And I do, and I really enjoy those. And so that has led me into discussions with the gentleman who happens to run the CCS, and I presented my ideas to him for tournaments. But the fact of the matter is you know population density is a really big thing.
Right.
And there's a whole lot more people in the United States of America than there are in Canada. And I'm not even talking about anglers. I'm talking about people with the motivation and the gumption and the time to want to put on a tournament. We don't have the same numbers of people with that kind of motivation up here in Canada. And I hope and I pray that I do think it's going to be a natural series of events that's going to lead us somehow back to where they have tournaments again. Because if you look at history, they used to have the Canadian Carp Cup up here, which was on the St. Lawrence River, which got you the winning team got a buy into the World Carp Cup or whatever it's called. Ross Honey is the gentleman. I think he's like a carp god of some kind, and he puts on this world class event, and with them introducing and changing the laws in Ontario, Canada, where I live, from 1 rod to 3 rods, I was really thinking that it would bring the carp fishing back right away and have another World Cup here. But it hasn't brought it back yet. And I'm thinking that it's just going to kind of have to be somebody with a bit of a grassroots idea and putting it into play. But that being said, it's really not that hard for me to get myself organized if I have the time to come and fish in a US tournament. And honestly, I think I would like to come down to a US tournament, not just to fish in it, but to understand how it's run, what the people are doing, what has to be verified, who has to be hired, how many people do you need? What kind of software do you need on a computer to do this kind of stuff? How is this all set up? And if I have a better understanding of it, it might be easier to achieve the goal of bringing about tournaments in Canada, because I am by nature born a gambler. So
yeah, me too, I think.
if you give me the option to go and fish for pleasure or to go and try to fish for money, I'm sorry. I know I can catch some carp. I'm coming to try to fish for money. And I'm not expecting to win. Please don't think that.
I get it. I totally get it.
But stranger things have happened, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
you appreciate the opportunity. You and I have talked about that before, John, and if that notion gets any warmer in your spirit, then I'll get you with Lee Hearn and a couple of guys that run tournaments, and you'll get a phone conversation from 3 or 4 of them, and they'll give you all the knowledge that you could ever ask for.
They're good people.
And very, very experienced, and I trust them. I trust their judgment. I trust the way they run tournaments. And Lee Hearn's probably one of the funniest guys on earth, so you'll appreciate him.
He's a nut.
He's a nut.
Excellent.
Have you fished in the States, John?
For carp,
Yeah.
I do not think, unless you count when I really tried, when I didn't know what I was doing, to whip it halfway across the St. Lawrence.
Right.
Probably not. Almost, yeah.
Almost
No,
there.
the problem is when I come to the States, it is specifically with horses and to do the showing and the whole 9 yards. So there's no point in bringing carp tackle and trying to do it. I just don't have the time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that is our plan, is to bring our carp fishing equipment on our horse trailer. And then instead of sending it home from Florida, we're going to take it and put it in our cars and drive up to Dale Hollow.
Oh.
And that's why I reached out to, or actually brought it up in the conversation. Kenny Mack, he's a sweet man. He reached out to me just because I was commenting so much on these webcasts. And he ended up calling me, which I told him freaked me out. But I took his call. And we had the most lovely conversation. And by the end of this conversation, I'm explaining why I'm bringing so many guys that I can't rent his boat because it can't hold that many. And Kenny is such a nice man. In the same breath, he says back to me, even though you can't rent my boat and you can't come with me, I will help you out in any way, shape, or form I can.
Yeah, you'll do that.
That was mind-blowing to me, and that is what made me become more involved with these web talks and all of this, because it's crazy. It doesn't matter what country you come from. It seems to me, if you're an angler and you're into angling for the same species, it is so much easier to find common ground as friends
Amen.
than anything else that I do for a living.
Amen.
It's weird how instantaneous the connection is when you're speaking someone else's language and they
That's
speak it
right,
back
that's
to you.
right. I appreciate your kind words, John. Thank you.
Yeah, that is actually
Kind words for a kind man.
That is one of my favorite parts, actually. Or it sounds cliche, but the friends that we get to make on the boat, the people that we get to take out to the bush, the repeat people that we get to see, year after year. It's cool to we get a little bit of everybody's story, and through that we get to create our own story, and everybody's a piece, and we get to be a piece of everybody else. It's a very, very nice sense of community.
You guys ever have the problem with, you go to a party or something like that, and you're bored to death, but when someone starts talking about carp fishing, you're like, squirrel?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Squirrel?
That's a really good point. That's a mood changer for sure.
Yeah, it's like.
Oh yeah. No, it and that's the other thing. The Canadian Carp Society, and I have to bite the bullet and just go and do this once because I was invited. I was asked to do it. They have socials, and it's you bring your fishing stuff. I've been told so far, from people that have attended it, you bring your fishing stuff. You do fish. Please don't get me wrong, but you're not going to fish. You're bringing your stuff with you, but you're going to socialize. Talk to people, learn new things, become friends with people you don't already know, branch out, grow as a human being. It's amazing how many gentlemen I've met on the Canadian Carp Society that have told me that they weren't, you wouldn't consider them a loner before that, but they'll openly say, I did not have even close to this many friends. But because of the Canadian Carp Society, I have several more people that I can actually call my friend.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Like, I'm sorry, Facebook doesn't do that. Instagram doesn't do that.
It don't. It actually leaves you empty. It actually leaves you
Correct.
empty.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when you can have a real conversation with someone that actually has your best interest at heart, it's a completely different type of conversation, and it gives you a completely different feeling, and it makes you happy, and it makes you want to go do this.
Makes me giddy, absolutely. A conversation about our histories, and as I told you before, I've been doing it, for about 45 years. I don't want to count all of them as being serious, really, because you like you said, you're coming up, and heck, I probably
Yeah.
spent 10 years still not really knowing what I was doing, weekend warrior or whatnot, but as we get older, we get more serious and we start acquiring goals and whatnot, and you get good at it, right? You get real good at it.
Yes.
I got good at all the rigs, and I got good at all the, listening to the lake, listening to the rivers, and watching the water. My watercraft got real good. But I gotta tell you, brother, and Daniel can attest to this, there isn't a client one that comes out that we don't learn off of. Every single person that comes out there, man, and it might be something small. It might be how they stir their tea. It might be how they hold their rod. But there hasn't been a client yet that hasn't taught us something.
Yeah.
It's important. It's
Yeah,
very
I
important.
believe that.
Always we learn off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely.
I would like to know, we brought up fishing in the United States. You said that you're going to hit up Dale Hollow. Are there any other waters in the United States, that maybe you're looking at that you would like to try out?
Oh yeah. Kenny
got
Mack
this.
brought it up. Kenny Mack brought it up before we started talking. So I have a friend, and he's one of the most valuable. Even though he's a carp fisherman. Please don't get me wrong, but he was dragged into it kicking and screaming, and he's got 30 pounders to his name. You know what I mean? Like I put him on fish when we go because I want to be on fish too. But he is he's gifted. He's gifted mentally in a very unique way. And the way that he's gifted is he can watch a video, any carp fishing video, and within 45 minutes to an hour, he can call me and he can show me on a map exactly where those people were standing in that video.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a skill.
So
set,
when-
for sure.
So when they put out that video about Blackfoot Reservoir,
Yeah.
and they said it was all private where they were, but they weren't allowed to tell the viewers where they were, I sent it to him and he had it figured out in about 40 minutes.
Wow.
And I desperately want to go down there because, it's a lot smaller than Dale Hollow, but the fish size that come out of that place, I'm not sure there is another place like that in North America that's been found right now. I mean, those boys, those U.S. boys that fish with Carl, they pulled out how many 40 pounders out of there
It was ridiculous, brother. It was absolutely ridiculous.
in one session.
Yeah. It was
And
the
they're
Bass
calling
brothers.
Carl and going, we got this 41, 42, 43, 39, 40. And it's like, oh my goodness. So that is one place I desperately would like to try. And then I came across, and I think Kenny Mack knows exactly what I'm talking about. You guys probably do too. But there's a place in Connecticut. And I have seen some mirrors come out of this place that
Okay.
are
That one.
some of the most epic
Yeah.
colored fish.
Yeah. Koi's.
And I don't know the name of it. I'm
It's
sorry, but
probably Lake Zor.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's exactly what it is because you asked me if I had ever been there. And then I looked it up and I found more videos from there and I was like, oh my, these fish are exquisite.
Whoa.
We have a
Yeah.
carp B&B there too. So if you decide you want to book us a trip, we'll get you there too.
I might just come and do that one on my own with you guys. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Nice.
Yeah. But Daniel asked a question earlier, and there was actually one thing I wanted to say about what he said still keeps me in this. And I have to go back and reference my gifted friend.
Yeah.
He also happens to know more about electronics than anyone I ever want to meet again and hear more about electronics. And we realized that where we fish for these 30 pounders, we're actually going to get the houseboat for an early spring trip. And every time the bites stop, he's just going to fly his drone again, find the fish, and then we're going to drive the boat over there and park it to catch, because it's 2 to 3 feet deep, the whole bay
Oh,
that
yeah,
we
wow.
fish, which is like, I don't know, like 8 miles long, I want to
I
say,
see,
16
yeah.
kilometers. I could be wrong with my math, but the lake is pretty long. And it's pretty basically almost from one end, the shallow end, to where I do my summer and fall fishing. And
Okay.
it's so shallow through there, and they just cruise through that whole body of water. And it's
Wow.
going to be nice when the bites stop to send the drone up, find the monsters, drive back over there, and start again, or find a different pod and start again. And so that is what keeps me into it right now. Even though I'm not technology savvy, having a friend who is exuberantly technology savvy
Right.
is made fishing. I mean, it's getting easier.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
going to lie.
yeah, it is, it is.
It's getting way easier.
You bring up a very interesting point, and it's one that I have tried to pass on to Daniel and a few guys when it comes to guiding and when it comes to finding no fish. The only thing that keeps me from doing exactly what you guys are doing, and I've tried,
Yeah,
is the depth of Del Hollow. You know, I
yeah.
can't see the fish. I've caught glimpses of them, you know. But the bigger point is here is why did they move on, John? The bigger point is it true that I could put 1,000,000 pounds of bait in there, get them to feed, and they'll still move on? That's true, yeah.
I wish I knew the answer. I mean,
It's very true, brother. You know, and it's
here's
very
my
odd.
see, but that specific fishing situation that I was just telling you about, you would never put out 100 pounds of bait, because in early spring here, they grab 3 mouthfuls and they gone. So how I target them in that 3 foot of water is, we exclusively, and I learned this from Americans, which blew my mind, we exclusively use pack bait.
Love pack
They
bait.
sell they sell some fishing. What pack bait did you ask?
Oh no, I said I love using pack bait.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I make my own blend.
Nice.
It's got little fish pellets in it. It's got all kinds of different stuff. It's sweeter than all heck, and it's got more cayenne pepper in it than I care to talk about. And
Cayenne
that's what
pepper,
we use.
sweet
Sorry,
cayenne pepper,
correct,
and what else?
correct. Cayenne pepper. I put.
You don't have to tell me, man. That's
Um,
fine.
no,
No,
it's
shut
good.
up.
I
Oh,
don't mind
shucks.
telling
Okay.
the truth. I don't mind telling the truth. Um, but anyways, what we found was they would move in. There would be a rapid succession of bites. One every 20 minutes, 30 minutes for about 4 to 6 hours,
Right.
and then they would move off again. And I think the reason they were moving off of where we were fishing was because there's only so much pack bait that we're casting out into the water. So they didn't stick around. But the interesting thing about it was, when they moved away was the very first time we tried the drone. And the drone took off, and my buddy was out there with his drone for 20 minutes, and he goes, "You're drunk. I'm not going to be able to see fish." And I said, "That's because you're not looking in the right area. They're nowhere near here." I said, "Go to the other shoreline." He flies that drone to the other shoreline, and he looks at the screen on the iPad, and he goes, "Oh my God, look at this." And I went over and looked, and you could see the carp swimming and I mean big. And I said, "Okay." So now my demented mind
Yeah.
is trying to figure out how to get 525 feet of line across to where they are. And he
West Coast bait
says, "You
boat.
don't have to." He says, "You don't have to. They're all swimming this way." Within 3 hours, we were back on fish again.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what had me curious, John. That's an interesting scenario. Um, why would you think? And I don't mean anything by this. Just picking your brain.
No,
But why would you think that they would leave one area after feeding and then go to another area to feed?
I don't know that they're leaving that area of feeding to go to another area to feed. I think that in the early spring, the one thing that carp are more addicted to than anything else is the warmth.
That's right.
So in the springtime, they're munching away on the pack bait I have. I'm catching a couple of them. The sun comes up. It's shining more on the other bank. The wind's going more in that
Yes, sir.
direction that day. They're like, for this little amount of pack bait right here, I'm going to go warm up for a while. And they follow their friends to go to the warmer water. Then I think the weather switches over the next 24 hours. The winds change a little bit. They've warmed up. They're hungry again. It's really early spring. I'm sorry I don't know Fahrenheit exactly like
Right.
Celsius,
That's
but
all
I'm
right.
talking about I'm fishing in 6.5 to 7 degrees Celsius water. That's in the 40s.
Yeah.
That's why I think they have to go and warm up in the midday sun
Right.
and then come back over and do their cruising looking for food. So I don't think they're moving off our bait. I think they're moving to something that they care for more at that exact moment in time, which is warm water.
You're 1,000% correct, John. You're 1,000% correct. Yeah, I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
That's exactly the correlation that I passed on to Daniel. And I've watched him. I have literally watched him take him a big old slug of boilies. You know, we place a big old bed of boilies down, and I'll watch a 30, 40 pounder take a big swipe and just keep moving. He never was stopping to eat. He's on his way to warmer water. And then when they get to the edge, especially in the morning, we'll even move our rigs, Daniel and I, and we'll move it out into the sun early in the mornings where it hits first, catch a few fish, and then bring it back this way, catch a few fish. And it's not the food. It is not the food, brother. I don't think they're ever not hungry until they go dormant in the winter. And I think they're hungry even then. They just don't move around a lot. But if you put it right in front of their face, I believe you gulp it up, you know.
Deep.
Correct. And you know, sorry, go ahead.
My question was, do you guys think they swim in herds, and there's like actually a leader of the pack, or is it just individuals by themselves? You know, they're going to the warmth and back and forth, you know, whatever.
In the springtime, I think they very much do school up.
Yeah.
I think there's strength in numbers, and I think it's easier to move around as a pack in the springtime. I know that on Lake Ontario we can stand on shore, and like I told you guys, we can see schools of 50 swim by.
Right.
You know, that's pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn, and then they move out a little further to where we can't really see them anymore, but we can still keep on fishing for them. Is there a leader of a pack? I don't know about that.
I can answer that.
But there has to be some complexity to how they structure their social groups. And the one glaring thing that I realized was you're going to catch mirrors, smaller mirrors, in schools that you know are 20 to 30 pound commons.
Right.
But you're going to catch this smaller mirror, and it's the only small one in the group.
Yeah.
Why is that small mirror hanging out with those common carp? Why is it the only small one in the whole school or whole group of those fish? I can't answer that question,
Right.
but it boggles my mind enough to realize there must be some sort of structure to schooling up, and when they school up and why they school up. Is there a leader of the pack? I don't know. But I do believe that it is a societal behavior that they do perform at certain times during the year, swimming in schools. And I think some of them never actually break away as lone wolves and always stay in the school. And I have to believe that there's carp that swim by themselves. I really do. And I think those ones are probably the biggest ones, and they don't want to be part of a school anymore. because they can't get as much food into them when they find food.
You're exactly right there as well. The only difference is from us and UK or overseas period is that over there, the most you'll find of your big lunkers will be 3. That's the maximum that they'll hang out. More times than not, it's a male and a female. Over here, Daniel and I have ran into shoals of 40s. A whole shoal of 40s. And what does that tell me, John? That tells me that Mrs. 50 is near and Mrs. 60 is near. And so it is like that at Dell, bro, but it seems like they get just a little bit bigger before they break off at Dell. We'll catch them, you know, in singles like that, but there's been times that we literally caught, I don't know, 18, I think was the biggest streak of straight upper 30s. And it was most certainly the same show, 31, 32, and then it go 36 and 37, 36 and 37, 36 and 37, and we'll be hauling, and we know that's the same show. Well, we've done that one time with 40s. We caught like 3 or 4, boom, 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 and they're 40s, and then it went away. And so I believe that's still true. And the bigger they get, the more they break off. But I think she takes one dude with her, you know, and they still mate even at that weight, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I do fully believe you. And I also think that the carp that get to the 40-pound mark and break the 40-pound mark, I have myself almost convinced that every single one of those fish has graduated from the typical vegetation, you know,
100%.
insect larvae,
Yes, sir.
live fish.
Yes, sir.
And they're eating live fish.
Yes, sir.
And that is fascinating to me. And that's something that I am trying to study a lot more, based on the fact that I'm quite convinced that at any given time in Lake Ontario, there are schools of lake trout swimming through the water, and there are schools of carp underneath them. And these lake trout are hitting and knocking out these alewives. And these alewives are floating down, and these carp are just swimming beneath these giant lake trout, sucking up
100%,
these
brother.
whole fish.
Yeah. Daniel and I get excited when we see bait fish, brother. No kidding.
Yeah.
We believe that 100%. And we also, that's why he uses so much stinky stuff in the spring, you know, because he knows that that big girl is going to choose a crawdad over a piece of corn.
Yes.
100%.
What's interesting is we can't really fish that way in Canada for a multitude of reasons. Number one being the law. If you want to fish with a live bait or something that was once live, you can only fish with 1 rod. You can no longer do 3 for carp.
Really?
Secondly, to that, if you can put live bait out and actually catch a carp, you're my damn hero, because the issue is we have more catfish than we do carp in this country.
Yeah, we have the same issue.
So
Yeah.
the moment the live bait, anything, a worm, you know, anything with a natural meaty smell gets out in the water, those catfish are on it, and, you know, they're going to be the first fish to find it, and they're going to take the bait, and the next thing you know, you got slime 10 feet up your line.
Yeah.
Carp won't hit your rig anymore because it stinks like catfish. You switch everything out, and it becomes a nightmare. And so that's why most people stay completely catch on boilies.
That's all Daniel catches.
No, it is not. No, it's not.
Not really much
Okay, so
boilies got corn.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Besides Daniel, how many
a
catfish?
pretty good amount, John. More than we care to talk about, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I believe it or not. That's kind of what I wanted to hear, because we will sometimes get an insane amount of catfish picking up our rigs,
Yeah.
especially at nighttime up here, and it can almost frustrate you to the
Yeah.
point where you want to reel your lines in. But if I'm gonna let a catfish change my emotional state and change
Yeah.
my way of thinking, then I might as well just not go or not have come or go home. So you kind of got to push through that kind of stuff. And
You
if
really
that
do.
means putting on something that doesn't necessarily float their boat and make it them want to put it in their mouth, then switch to that.
Versus turtles, John. We struggle with turtles, buddy. Good
Badly.
gravy. If you think a
We get a
catfish is
couple up
bad,
here.
get into a mess of turtles, man. Good gravy.
And do y'all have the fancy giant shelled snapping turtles down
Yeah.
there that we
We
get hooked
do.
into up? Yeah, they're terrifying.
That's not normally what we catch. Most of the time, it's the daggone
Soft shell.
painted turtle, the soft shell,
Yes.
snapping turtles. All, this big. Not very big, just enough to get a hook in his toe or his, right
Yeah.
there in his mouth. So yeah, it stinks. And we don't want to leave a
And-
hook
and-
in him, so we go through the painstaking task of setting him free without leaving hardware in him, and it's tough, man. It's tough sometimes.
Do you put
And
do you put that
Go.
on the turtles?
It depends on where I hook them.
Yeah.
If I can get it dry, then yeah. But
They'll,
if I hook it like
antibiotics.
yeah, if I
Do
hook
you
it like in
really?
the front, yeah. If I can dry it off safe without him snapping at me or biting me, then yeah. I will.
James is asking him because we use antibiotic,
Yeah.
bro. We use a spray
That's
on our
fine.
capture when we catch a fish. We'll unhook it and we'll dry the mouth up and we'll spray that antiseptic or whatever it is on them and give them. It's got a lot of salt and it's basically neosporin for fish, if you will.
Yeah.
And James was asking him, do we do that to turtles? And yeah. Daniel would spray a bird if he thought it would help.
that's what a nature lover is a great
I'm
human
not mad
being.
at him.
And the one thing the really important thing that you just brought up that nobody really picks up when people like us are having conversations about this is everyone talks about why you have to use so much bait in Canada and the United States. Well, you guys literally just spelled it out. Why in the summertime, the springtime when it's warm, in the fall when it's still warm and they're heavy on the feed, you need to use more than you think because you're not just feeding carp.
Yeah.
You're feeding turtles. You're feeding catfish. You're feeding tiny little fish, gobies. You're feeding all these things that we will take your offering if you don't give them something easier to access. Crayfish, for that matter. You have to give them an exuberant amount of corn to satiate the tiny little animals, the tiny little turtles, the tiny little fish.
Yeah.
And then they go away or they just suspend because they're so full they can't do anything else. And that leaves what you need for your carp. And
This is
that's my opinion. And there's been some times where I've kind of screwed myself, not caught anything, not known why. I've rarely attributed it to putting out too much bait in the warm weather months. I just figure they're not there if that's the case, because if they're there, I truly don't think you can get enough bait out there unless you have lost your mind and start getting into like 600-700 pounds of bait.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's the same way in at Lake Zor, John. Is that you couldn't put enough bait out there. You just couldn't.
Yeah.
Brian Santos and I, we probably put 120, 140 pounds of bait out there, and just he probably went on I don't know, 13 to 15 straight 30-pound session. And
Wow.
in that system, now Del Hollow's a little different, John. Del Hollow, you got to be really careful about how much bait. I do agree with you that in the warmer months, you can get away with it a little bit more, but in the colder months, you really need to keep it tight, because and then early in the spring, like right now, the last thing I would do is put a bunch of bait in there. Because I know I'm only getting just what you said. I'm getting 1, 2, maybe 3 gulps from this guy as he's coming by. And I want one of those gulps to be my trap. And so we keep it in a pretty small area. and limited. Now, when we pre-bait, it's a little different. We'll spread a pretty good blanket over there, still keep it thin, but we're not gonna fish it for 3 or 4 weeks, you know? And then when we
Yeah.
come back to pre-bait again, it'll be a fraction of that, and it'll be just in our target areas. And then in the session, we'll just start off with a pack ball, you know, and then build the swim from there. But yeah, different venues can be very finicky.
Yeah.
I would imagine Blackfoot, you could just pour 1,000 pounds in there and just haul fish, all, you know.
Am I not mistaken? I think Blackfoot you can't chum.
That's fair. I have heard that. I don't think you can chum at Blackfoot.
But is Blackfoot not the reservoir where Carl went
Yeah.
fishing with
Yeah.
then you can chum, because that's the one I learned
Right.
how to put that much bait out, was because the guy kept taking
Mhm.
Brendan, I think was his name was,
Yes.
kept
Yeah.
taking the kayak out and just putting, and I remember the exact verbiage Carl did on the voiceover when he was putting out all the bait, and he said, I'm not sure if he's making a mistake by putting out this much bait,
Yeah.
but they know the water
Yeah.
way better than I do, and I'm not going to argue. I'm going to wait and see what happens. And then they had that session that just went out of this world.
It's basically the way the video went is that it was really slow at first. It was like going for days and days and days without catching a fish, and then they moved to a different spot, and then they started catching it like crazy. Now, on that video, I also heard a lot of backlash on the comments of that video where anglers were getting after them because you wasn't allowed to chum that lake.
Okay. That's interesting to look into. That's for sure.
Well, I tell you, I can appreciate that. Rules are rules.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
I go to a foreign area, I want to follow the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
My problem is though, you know, I don't cast well, so I might cast out 470 bait balls, and have
Yes.
to. I'm just telling you, man, I'm getting there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
getting there.
Yep.
Close.
Yeah.
We are getting close to the end of the show, so I do have a couple, rapid fire type questions that we could go through real quick for the audience. I would like to know, what is your favorite hook bait? If you have one hook bait that you got to use for the rest of your life, what are you going with?
By hook bait, you just mean like the edible offering attached to the hook,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I exclusively use a pineapple pop-up,
Nice.
but I soak it for 6 months in mainline essential cells syrup.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay, I can get
and
down with that.
put it in a container, leave it for 3 months, and see what happens. The liquids separate. Some of it penetrates into the boilie. The rest of it that's left over turns it into the most adhesive substance I've seen in a long time. And I put that back on it and cast it out. And I know that sticky stuff is staying on the outside of that boilie for hours and hours.
Okay.
Nice.
What is your favorite bankside snack?
Oh, that would have to be oatmeal.
Oatmeal. Okay.
Yeah.
We have Paul Metz in the chat. He would like to know, what is your personal best common and what is your personal best mirror?
36 something for the common and 35.5 for the mirror.
Nice job.
Nice. Paul Metz would also like to know, if you add flavor to your pack, and if you do, what is your favorite flavor to use in your pack bait?
Different flavors. So, I'm using my phone for this, or I would pull it up. Okay, so panko to oats 3-1. These little fish balls that they sell up here in Canada in a white and blue bag that actually they don't sink until they absorb water for a minute. So for the first minute that the pack bait's out there, the balls actually break out of it and travel up the water column and bring a lot of those scents up. So I can get scent in the entire water column with the pack bait.
Cool.
A ton of cayenne pepper, condensed sweetened milk, canned corn, creamed corn, lamb starter milk powder. So the stuff that you make up in a shake bottle with a nipple on it for baby lambs,
Okay, gotcha.
that in it as well, and that I think that's it. And I just mix that up and make sure it's hydrated enough, and chuck it on out there, and that's the mixture.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. I like that.
I like that guy.
Paul would also like to know, could he ask 3 more questions?
Knock, knock yourself out.
I'm kidding. John, you've been a peach, man. We sure do appreciate you. And I need to let the viewers know that
Yeah.
John jumped in on a whim. I had talked about him coming on the podcast, and we had planned on doing this. Time gets away from us, and James had a guest cancel, and so here we are without a guest. And so I very much appreciate your
Yeah, thank you
last
so
minute
much.
move, bro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The timing, it could not have been more than perfect. I'm driving down the road. I got a car full of girls. They're all yammering on. I see Kenny's name, and I look at my friend, my business partner in the front seat, and I go, do you want to understand how truly demented I really am? And she goes, and she points at the name, and she goes, who is that? And I said, watch this. And I take the call, and Kenny's like, can you please come on? We don't have anybody, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, no problem, no problem. And I hung up the phone, and they're like, are you kidding me? These people are calling you to go on the webcast for carp fishing. I'm like, I told you I know how to do this. Like, what's wrong with you people?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
that is awesome. And I really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
I
you very
tried-
much for your time.
Yeah, I try to keep
Oh.
weekly anglers, between, I would say like a professional carp angler to just a regular average Joe, because everybody has their story to tell about
Yeah.
carp fishing, and I like to just want to keep on doing these podcasts is because, we're all not gonna live, for a long time, and that's what people tell them their story, that was in the past, you know what I mean, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, John, wow, appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Real quick, how cold is it up there right now?
Where I was this morning looking at horses, it was -9 Celsius.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's crazy.
So-
That's crazy cool.
In the 20s Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
It was, and I tried fishing last week in southern Ontario, where I come from, and the water temperatures were all around 4.5 degrees Celsius. And I did try in a shallow spot, but I knew I wasn't going to get anything. It was just to go out there and breathe some fresh air and have some fun.
I feel you there. That's what it's about mostly for us. But thank you for
Yes,
coming
thank
on,
you
like
so
we
much.
said. Thank you, especially for such short notice. I do want to have you on again and talk about some more American and Canadian events. See if we can get something going, bridge,
Yes.
bridge the gap there, and see what we can get done. But thank you very much. Have a great rest of your night.
I'll be in touch, John.
Definitely. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I told you.
All right.
I told you he's a real McCoy. Let me tell you my favorite thing about John.
He's intelligent.
He's very smart, but he doesn't overstep himself.
No.
I love how humble he is, and he just flat tells you,
Yeah.
here's where I'm at in my career of carp fishing. I'm not over here, I'm not over here, I'm right here.
Right.
And here's how I got here. I love that about a guy, It's, and I knew from the first words out of his mouth when we got on the phone what I was dealing with, And I love his passion as well. I'm going to get some of those directors with him,
Yeah.
and he's going to enjoy the conversation with them boys.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then maybe we'll go up, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to go carp in Canada.
yeah.
I mean, I like that whole passion he's got.
Gotta get a little warmer first, but
Yeah.
damn it.
I do like the whole idea how, he's actually thinking about maybe being a tournament director. I love being a tournament director. I mean, just to go, because it's more than fish, because I see all these smiles on anglers' faces once they catch a fish. Where am I at? What place am I in? And, how much this fish weighs. I mean, it's, I'm actually seeing one-on-one what's, through the whole tournament.
Yeah, it's fun, I like it.
Yeah, it's fun, so.
And just for our audience, excuse me, I wanna tell you guys a trick, we were talking about turtles and catfish.
Yeah.
And I wanna give you an old hillbilly trick to combat that. On your way to your swim, if you see some roadkill, like a raccoon
Nice.
or a squirrel, pull over and pick it up. Take it to your lake, put it on the other side of the swim, drop it down in the water, and that's where all your catfish and turtles will go, and then fish over here.
It works.
Roll your windows down.
It works.
Roll your windows down.
Use a
Have
plastic bag so you don't have to go.
And don't put it in your wife's lap.
And if you can get like a deer, no, don't do the deer. Don't do the deer.
Don't do the deer, don't do the deer. Well, thank you to everybody behind
Yes.
us. Thank you to Carp Angler, Big Money Beepers, Team Fish Fighters, Carp Angler Group, USA Carp Guide, and West Coast Bait Boats. And then we have a couple up here, Bottom Feeder Baits and Carpy Commando Catch. And also we have Johnny's Juice over here. We have people all across this room. One day you guys will see everything that we got going on. But thank you to everybody that supports the show. Thank you to everybody that watches week in and week out. And we'll see you from Dale Hollow next week. See you later.
Thanks, guys.